Good afternoon and evening, everybody. Thank you for joining me. I felt obligated as a veteran to go ahead and make up this stream here to commemorate those that were with us on 9/11, those that we lost on 9/11, and those of you who remember it. Obviously, we do. Don't worry about what you say on this stream. I'm not monetized, so I don't have to worry about getting money out of YouTube on this one. We can say whatever we want. Welcome, my special guest, Mexican Ironman. How are you doing today, sir?
Great, brother. That was an awesome intro. I really enjoyed that. That was great.
Yeah, Rambling Canuck made that for me.
Such a
I keep
stud.
keep intending to take the morning blend out of it, but I use it for my Sunday morning services, so I won't do that.
Wow. Can you believe how
So,
many years it's been already since 9/11?
19 years, man. Holy cow.
Ugh.
Ay, caramba.
It may just be the number of inches I've gained since then. I'm not sure. I got to take a tape measure out later.
I'm pretty sure that's the case with me too. Although I've been losing weight lately, but that's a different story. You don't want to lose the weight the way I am.
Indeed.
I keep drinking whiskey, hoping I'll keep the weight on, but it doesn't help.
You need someone with a lot of calories. Mexican tequila gets the job done.
Ah, there you go. That's what I was doing wrong. Welcome to the chat, Parrot Head, Vegas, Vegas Sin 333, Pflugerville. Thank you for joining us. Elihu, thank you for being here. Markrell, Purple Valkyrie in the house. Positive Candor, hello, sir. And let's see, where was I on that fateful day in September? And again, remember, I don't care. You can say 9/11, you can say September 11th, you can say whatever you want. I'm not monetized, so I don't have to worry about YouTube other than getting taken down. So watch your language for that, all right? But other than language for getting taken down and getting the bots getting me kicked off of here, but other than that, you can say whatever you want. Tell your story. Where were you on that fateful September day? Well, I worked at LAX. Let me give a little bit of background real quick. I spent 5 years playing or chasing tanks and Bradleys in the Army. My first duty station was 15th Infantry down at Fort Stewart, Georgia. And I was a fueler. Mr. Hyde, welcome. I was a fueler. So I drove 2,500 gallon fuel truck up to Bradley or Abrams, handed the nozzle over and said, fill her up. And all I had to do was run the pump. After I got back from Bosnia, I was lucky enough to play with the 1st Cavalry Division Band for 2 years, and then I left the service. So I did my deployment. I figured I am complete. I don't have to worry about the Army. And then September 11th happened. Well, I had a good job at LAX. I was working at a fixed base operation where we were fueling private jets, Lear jets, Gulfstream 5s. We actually had a private contract with Saudi Arabia Airlines, so I've fueled 747s, things like that. And we had a lot of fun. I was working the night shift, so it turns out that when you get home after drinking a few beers at your favorite bar, you sleep through tragedy. I happened to be staying at my grandfather's house because my aunt and uncle were having an anniversary weekend themselves. So I was out of the house. And so I was at my grandfather's house, and he came into my bedroom and woke me up. He said, we're under attack. Now, mind you, my grandfather is a World War II veteran, and I've known this all my life.
Wow.
So he said, "We're under attack." And I went, "What?" And I jumped up real quick, put my pants on, ran out in the living room, and I sat in front of the TV for 2 days. 2 days I sat in front of the TV, and then I called the recruiter and I said, "All right, I'm still on inactive reserve, so go ahead and call me up." So that's my story. That's where I was on September 11th. Los Angeles, Downey, California. If anybody's been in South Central Los Angeles, you know where Downey, California is. There.
So can I ask a couple questions?
Yeah, sure.
So in those 2 days you were watching TV, um, and watching all the cable feeds and all that, what were some of the things that you remember seeing and feeling?
God, it's just so horrible. Welcome Carrie Parmenter is my sister. Oh, I can't wait to get her up here. I hope she figures out how to work the StreamYard because she worked at the Pentagon right afterwards, cleaning up the Pentagon. She was active duty Air Force at the time. Okay, so
Well, wait a minute. To draw context, you had just been back from what, Bosnia,
yes,
and then you were at LAX working on the private sector.
correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. And then Grandpa says we're under attack. You spring out, and for 2 days. Okay, now I'm ready. Okay, so what was going through your mind? What are the things that you
Well,
remember seeing and feeling in those 2 days?
he got me. A lot of people were saying that it was an accident, right? That the first plane hit, right? The first plane hit the tower. They're like, "Oh my God, what a horrible accident." My grandfather knew better. He knew better. He came and got me up out of bed right away. So I was sitting in front of the TV when that second plane hit the second tower. And I knew then that that's the most horrible thing I've ever seen. Horrible thing. And remember, in Bosnia, we were defending the Islamic persons, the Muslim community in Bosnia from being exterminated by Christians. So that's what Bosnia was. The conflict was between Christians and Muslims, and the Muslims were being exterminated. We went in there and stopped it, but we got attacked.
Right.
It's I don't know how do you describe where you defended a people, and then those same people came back and they attacked you. My feelings are so mixed up on this. It's so difficult.
I mean, you must have been in knots. That's why I wanted to ask you, like, for those 2 days, what were you? Because you had told me earlier before in pre-show that you'd just been in Bosnia, which was, and no one talks about it, but if you do your reading and research about it, that was intense. Those are some intense battles you guys dealt with.
Oh, the missing roofs and the collapsed walls
It was it was nonstop, all hours of the day, and there was no. I mean, I've done a lot of reading about some of those battles, and they're not as well, documented or celebrated or discussed. But I mean, it was very, to me, it was very reminiscent of what we did back in World War II, where we're going for righteous American causes, defending the people that can't defend themselves, right? And then turn around and then pow.
Yeah.
So I was wondering, like, were you just sitting there feeling like, I don't know, did you just blood pressure just rise and rise and rise? Did you? I mean, I just can't
I
imagine.
don't know, man. I was in so much shock. It's like, how could this happen here? Right. And then the details started coming out, and I started getting more and more and more angry. I mean, more and more angry, right? Like, these people have been preparing for this attack since before I left for Bosnia. Before I left for Bosnia, they were preparing for this attack. So I came back and I spent 2 wonderful years playing music for the Army. And then I left the Army and I worked at LAX. And then they came from behind and kicked us right in the ass. I was furious. I know that there's a difference. I know that it's not the entire Muslim community that did it to us. I'm fully aware of that. I lived across the street from a mosque, for crying out loud. I didn't firebomb the mosque because people knocked down the Twin Towers. It's ridiculous.
However,
But you can't separate your feelings. And now, after 3 deployments in Iraq, I can't separate my feelings at all anymore. It's really difficult, but it's just, I don't know. One of the problems that I had was arguing with my uncle the entire time that I was negotiating with the recruiter, because I was planning on going back in the Army anyway. And my uncle had been in Vietnam. He was a Marine in Vietnam. And he kept saying, you can't, don't go, don't do it. But I got to. It's my job.
right. And was your uncle in the service? No.
My uncle was a Marine in Vietnam, yes.
Oh, he was. Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so I had the arguments with my uncle the entire time.
In between each time you went back? Because you said you did 3 deployments, right?
I mean, just that few days after 9/11 to the time that I reenlisted.
Ah, got it.
So I kept having that argument with him, saying that, it's my obligation. I have to go. I expected to be in Afghanistan within a year because I didn't have to go back through basic training or anything like that. I could go directly to any combat unit there was that had a fueling platoon, or support platoon is what they're called. I could go back into any unit anywhere. Like if the 101st went in, I could go to the 101st. If the 3rd ID went in, I could go to the 3rd ID. They could send me anywhere, anytime, because I didn't have to go through training. I knew everything. And I was already a specialist, E4, enlisted level 4. So I could go anywhere, anytime, and I could fuel any track vehicle. I could fuel any wheeled vehicle, anything. But they sent me to a quartermaster unit, and we didn't deploy until 2003 when we invaded Iraq. So my uncle may have been correct.
He may have been what?
Correct? He may have been correct. Perhaps I shouldn't have reenlisted so quickly.
Those 2 years, were you just itching? I mean, the whole time you were there, were you?
Well, I'd gotten married between September 11th and my reenlistment date in late October. So
you got married a week and a half after. Hold on, wait, what? That month you got married?
September 11th is when we were attacked.
Right.
On October 6th is when I got married. And so my mind was elsewhere after October 6th.
Mm. Yeah.
So it's your turn, man. What's your story? You were there, man.
I was there. I was in New York that day.
Holy cow.
So I was married at the time. One of her girlfriends from Yale, she went to Yale, was getting married up in northern, somewhere, I can't remember if it was New York or New Hampshire. It was way up there in the north part of something, where all them leaves change colors, like y'all have out there. And so we're supposed to come back Sunday, but we decided to stay an extra day. They got married on a Saturday, and we stayed at my buddy's house in a small ass, the microscopic apartment that he had. He and I went to Stanford together. Woke up. It was Monday morning. He woke up. He was gone already. He was a currency trader, and there was a second week on his new job where he was working at one of the towers. I can't remember the name of the firm he worked for at the time. Turns out, I'll just take his part of it. Turns out he ended up getting distracted and going to breakfast. He ran into an old girlfriend, got distracted. They ended up going to breakfast, and he never went to the office that morning. And they ended up going to breakfast away from all the buildings, completely away. Like they just
Okay.
he just happened to run into her when he went into a Dwayne Reed, I think, and she was in there and he was in there. He hadn't seen her since college. He said, "Oh my God, let's just go grab break." She was like, "Okay, no." She was in town visiting a girlfriend. Blah blah blah. Very trippy. And of course, I didn't know that till much later, but I'm just taking my question now. So we're getting ready to go. We have planes. We're leaving LaGuardia that morning at I don't know what time, 11 and change. Supposedly we get up at like 7, 8, whatever. She goes in the shower, then she comes out. I come in the shower. I come. I hear her scream and drop her breakfast. A bowl. I come out. I said, "What's the matter?" And she said, after the first plane, she says, "Terrorists are attacking us." And I'm like, "What?" I look at the screen, and they're replaying it, right? And I said, "How do you know that?" She says, "Why else?" She says, "Why else would someone drive a plane into the World Trade Center?" I said, "Well, I don't know. Maybe it was in an accident." She says, "Sure looked like they were aiming to me," and she just instantly just went like that. I used to travel a lot for business at this time, all the time. I was on the road like 3 to 6 days every other week, all month, every year, and oh shit! Hold on a second. That's my phone ringing. Hold on. On mute. Sorry, I put that on mute.
No worries.
And so she's she's all of a sudden freaked out. I look at the replay and then I start thinking real nuts and bolts. Like, okay, if this is happening, a whole lot of crap's going to change real fast. And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, we're probably not going to get on that plane because of a plane. If this just happened with 2 planes, now they're now." I said, "All the planes are going to be shut down. So we're not getting out of here on a flight." And I said, "I guarantee you all the tunnels and the trains are going to be like, they're going to be looking for who did this and yada, yada, yada." And I said, "Our best hope is to get a rental car and get over a bridge before they lock this place down because it's going to get locked down." And I don't know how I was thinking that way. Real James Bondish, kind of 24,
Oh yeah.
And turns out I got the absolute last rental car on the island at a Hertz. I used to be a triathlete at this time. I was in real great shape. I used to do half Ironmans and stuff. And so I find out there's one Hertz after making a ton of phone calls off of both of our cell phones. I found out there's this one Hertz car left. And he's like, "Yeah, but we're closing the shop. If you don't get here, soon, we can't give you this car." I gave him my credit card. I told him, "Charge it, ring it." I said, "I'm on the way." I took off running, sprinting, and got over there and got the rental car. And I came back, picked her up, through everything. We ran it, and then we're going tunnel to tunnel. We're down on the on the lower side, right?
Yeah.
And the second tower hadn't come down yet, so I got back. I got back pretty fast with the car, and then she's going up and down. I'm staying with the car because I don't know if it's going to get towed or what. She's bringing down the suitcases one by one. And man, when that building, the first one came down, it is unreal. I mean, we were there because we were in Lower Manhattan. The rumble, the sound. See, there's a lot of things that in all the videos to this day, I've never seen again except for when I was there. And I'll give you the list of them. One of them was the rumble. The second one was that although was realizing the things that were dropping from the building were people jumping, which obviously, I mean, now you can find videos that have that. But the thing is, like, when you're there, it's like it comes into focus because the people are coming from the high floors, and as they're coming down, the gravity, they come into focus, and you realize that's not, whatever, a piece of furniture or a light or whatever, right? And that was absolutely horrifying to see that. And the rumble, in and of itself. I mean, being from California, you have earthquakes, and so that's a different kind of rumble, though. We get used to that in California. It's like deep in the ground.
Right. Yeah.
It's kind of rolling
back and forth. It's fine.
Yeah, it's kind of rolling, kind of like if you're at a listening to house music at a club or something. It's that's different. But this rumble was different, and from your experience in the military, what I'm talking about. Is that it's in the air and the waves hit you, like they go through you, kind of thing, right? The third thing was that I'll never forget is that, and by the way, we happened to be the way the buildings were where we were at his apartment. We didn't have to run from a lot of the dust. The dust was actually stopped by some of the buildings where we were at because the way the avenues and the streets were at. We didn't actually have a lot of problems with the dust coming our way. That was the problem if you were in one of the avenues because the avenues were so wide, right? And they go north south.
Yeah.
And so we were on an east west one, and so anyways, we didn't really have that problem. But the third thing that I'll remember is the smell, and I can even still smell it to this day, and it's a combination of like, the uh, I'm a burnt. I don't know how to describe it, but it's this weird kind of burnt smell that I just will never ever forget. Between tires, rubber, building, paper,
Yeah.
it just and it just lingered. It just fucking lingered. It's the smell of death.
And it's
Okay,
not the same. It's not the same as a construction zone. People
no,
want to see collapsed buildings and things, right?
no,
It's
it's not
not the
that.
same.
It's
Not
not
at
that.
all.
I've been to Vegas or other places where like there's been demos or San Francisco, for example. It's not that. That's something different. And
Right.
you with your military experience being on base, you know what I'm talking about.
I
Especially when we were in
do.
Bosnia, right?
Yeah.
And so that I mean I'm like as I'm talking about it now, Jesus, I was like I can. It's like it's in me. I can feel it. Oh, anyway. So um the fourth thing that I'll remember, which they never showed either, which I thought was fascinating, was the jets that were going up and down the avenues in between the buildings. I never saw those on any
Oh, wow.
video footage, but pretty damn immediately there were there were what would they have been 16s, I guess back then. I don't know.
F-16 should
Yeah, they
be.
would have been 16s, loud as hell, right? The two-man ones coming out, going up and down the avenues, but between the buildings and low, right? So I can see now why a lot of the video coverage doesn't have it, because if someone's taking video and they're seeing the top of the buildings, you don't see them. But I was standing on
Right.
the side of the car. You can hear these fuckers coming. I looked up, and they're like 30, 50 feet, 60 feet above.
Like in the movies and stuff, right?
Exactly.
Oh,
Exactly.
man, that is nuts.
Well, you with your military background, you know what I'm talking about, right? They're I don't know, they're coming in for some kind of combat patrol or whatever, right? I mean, so you saw them coming down and coming back up. I've never seen any video to this day, so I don't. I guess the military must have locked down the newscasters or whatnot, but
Yeah, most likely.
and they came so fast, like you couldn't even take. I mean, they were moving, they're hauling ass, like you couldn't even take a picture of them. Like it wasn't like like the like the American Airlines things where they saw. I mean, these things were moving fucking fast, man. They're and then the armored and then some of the armored they weren't tanks. I don't know what you call them. The person APCs.
APCs, yeah, armored personnel carriers.
And seeing them come up, which I thought was pretty fascinating, because they were, I don't know where they came from, but they were there within an hour. I mean, it felt like by 10:30, 11, So so we start, the cell phones go down. You can't make any calls in or out now. Now telecommunications is just done.
Right.
The radio stations start, turning off in New York, as people are leaving or, whatever, right? The emergency broadcast system clicks on. We get in our car. We try to get to First Tunnel, which is the one down by, down by the lower end of Manhattan. I can't remember what's called, the Lincoln Tunnel. That's not happening. And then we just start going, one after another, and they were shutting them down. We managed to be the third to the last car off the Washington Bridge, which is way up in the north.
I've been across the Washington Bridge, yeah.
Yeah, they were basically going to shut everything down and let and you only got across if you had really good documentation. In our case, we had Florida driver's licenses. We both happened to have our passports. I was able to show that we got the rental car. We were just going to try and go home, to Florida, and we drove and listened to the developments that happened over the radio, FM AM radio all the way down, and just got on 95 and went all the way southbound. We got off the island, I think about 5:30, 6, something like that.
Oh,
September, so it's starting to get dark. It took us that long to find, and we had heard that the Washington Tunnel was the only tunnel. The only tunnel or bridge off the island. Probably 2 or 3 hours ahead of time, but it took us that long to left, right, left, right, left, right. Tons of people were trying to jump in our car. They want to know where we're going.
Yeah,
that's
ride.
Huh?
A long ass day right there.
Yeah, it was kind of every time we stopped, because they could see we had bags in the car, and it was very, now that you've seen The Walking Dead, as a TV show, it was kind of like that. People wanting, rides and that kind of stuff, and we just didn't roll the window down for nobody for nothing. We're just trying to get out and stuff, and of course, meanwhile, like I can't reach my mom. Meanwhile, I mean, we can't reach anybody. No one can reach us. It wasn't until we got to about, I want to say, like, shit, out of Virginia, Yeah, once we got out of
Ooh,
Virginia, we started getting our cell phones started working. So
all the way down there. Holy
yeah,
crap.
it was just I think the network was busy. We couldn't get a call out or in. The networks were pretty busy. So it was freaky, man. I don't know how to explain. I mean, it was it was it felt weak. I mean, as an American, knowing that we got hit in New York down there where you're
Yeah.
feeling. I
Uh,
mean, you think where do you feel safe in America? New York City in the financial district would be probably in the top 10 list. I mean, maybe not today with Antifa, but I mean, on any other day, you know,
yeah,
and,
you're always thinking, I'm safe here. This is America. We
right? This is
we haven't been
America,
attacked since 1814,
right?
People haven't screwed with us since 1814 other than minor skirmishes, and this was a major thing. I mean, this was huge.
I come from a family of 34 Marines. I was I was one of the ones that didn't go into the service because my dad banned me. He went to Vietnam. He's like, "You're not going there. You're going to Stanford." I'm like, "No, but I can do both." He's like, "I can do both." And he's like, "No, you're not." I said, "Why not? Everybody else has." And I was like, and I said, "No, you're not." He said, "You don't even shoot that well." I said, "I'll get better." And big guy, huge fight. Huge. He and I did talk for a while, and then I did. Of course, I didn't. Never. And he and I didn't get like we didn't talk, and he proved to me he was not going to talk to me, and I hadn't even enlisted or anything. So I said, okay, it was just bad for the family. And he's like, look, I already felt like I lost you once. I mean, because I was off the grid. Everybody just thought I was gone, and everybody knew I was staying in the financial district. My whole
Yeah,
family knew because they knew Zach. Had an apartment. They all knew Zach's been my roommate and friend, for years, and they all knew exactly where I was. So for them, I was gone completely.
yeah,
And that was weird too because when you did connect with people, it was a lot of like they were feeling like he came back to life. So anyway, so that's my story.
that's cool, man. All right, I put the link in the chat. I've already got a couple of people lined up. I've got room for 10. Here are the rules. When people are telling their story, you stay quiet and you let them tell their story. Don't be a dick on this one. All right. We're going to have fun. I'm hoping my sister is able to connect through StreamYard. Well, there she is. I'm going to bring her up first. And I will let my sister tell her story first. Welcome, Carrie. Are you able to connect to us?
I hope so. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. That's brilliant. NP
Excellent.
Geek and Positive Candor are here. Everyone is welcome. You can tell your story. Like I said, we have 10 slots up here, so there are 5 available right now. The link is in the chat. Just scroll up a little bit and click on that. Carrie, you want to go ahead and tell your story?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I actually arrived at Dover Air Force Base in like July of 2001, so it was kind of a new base to me still. I woke up that morning, I had a dental appointment, and I went to my dental appointment and I got in my car to come back to work, and I turned on the radio and I thought there was this inappropriate, fantastical story, which we all know turned out to be true, but I was listening to it on the radio like it was some kind of a, story, like a made up story. And I was like, what in the hell? This is,
Like
ugly
the
and
like the War of the
inappropriate.
Worlds, right?
Yeah, like War of the Worlds. Yeah. So I got back to work, and I mean, God, everybody is just around the TVs. And that's when it hit me that it wasn't War of the Worlds, it was real life. And, we kind of, I mean, we shut down. I worked in a warehouse. I'm in supply. I worked in a warehouse. We really, like, everything stopped working for a minute. We were all just sitting around the TV watching things unfold. And, the boss comes in and says, you're all not going home. We're on 12s. That was no surprise, but we're like, okay. I don't know how I did it, but I grabbed my phone and I called my mom. And the call went through, and I was like, "Hey, Mom, are you awake yet?" And she's like, well, yeah. I said, okay, well, turn on the TV. She's like, what? I said, just turn on the TV. She said, what channel? I said, at this point, I don't even think that's going to matter. Just turn the TV on and you're going to know what I'm talking about. And I love you, but I think I need to hang up now, but I love you, Mom. And, that was, I don't know. I don't know how I did it, but, she woke up, she turned on the TV and I, I, I don't know. Anyway, um, within like 3 hours, I think we already had 15 trucks, being loaded with supplies, medical supplies and food and some other stuff. I don't actually know what all went on the trucks, but me and a coworker, we had to jump in one of the trucks and we drove, like you said, out to the Pentagon that day. And is it Mexican Iron Man? Oh my God, I know exactly what you're talking about with the smell. Like, it is not something that you hope to ever smell again. It's not something really that can be described easily, but you could smell it for miles and miles, even away
Yeah.
from the Pentagon. I mean, we had our windows down and it just got stronger and stronger. They had so many people, news crews, looky-loos. I mean, they had a barrier not even far enough away, really. I don't think it was far enough away from where we had to, show our IDs and enter the compound, I guess, for the Pentagon. I swear I don't think they had that barrier set up far enough away. People were just crowded around watching and wondering and taking pictures but it was a madhouse. I mean, it was I I'm so sorry.
No, it's fine. Carrie, go ahead. If you need to take a break, just say so. Uh,
Okay.
and Mexican Iron Man, you can answer if you like to. If you're addressed directly on the panel by
Yeah.
another panelist, you can answer.
Okay. Yeah, that
But
smell.
yeah, that
You're
smell.
the
Oh
first
my
person
God.
in all these years that knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're the first person, and I never want to be in that experience again.
No, never. So, I mean, they had triage going around. They were pulling, I mean, obviously the building got evacuated. The entire building got evacuated, but they were pulling injured people out and they had, like triage going around and they had some people being treated for anywhere from minor cuts to, well, you can imagine, but the worst I saw were broken limbs. Um, and then, we were there for several hours, I think. I didn't actually go into the building. I don't think anybody I mean, like I said, I was only supply, so I didn't have to go anywhere near the building, but I was able to walk around and, we unloaded our truck and I, it was a scene you're not ever likely to forget. It's
Yeah.
not something I ever really like to talk about, but it's the anniversary, so once a year, I guess maybe I can pull the memories out.
Well, thank you, Carrie.
Yeah.
And remember when I got back from Iraq in 2000, what we all met up in 2004, right?
Yeah.
And I found out you had gone to Iraq right after I came back. I was
Oh yeah.
furious. I was like, my sister shouldn't be in Iraq, damn it.
So I have to tell you then, really quick. I mean, technically, I rode convoys into Iraq, but I was stationed in Kuwait. So I wasn't stationed in Iraq, okay? I thought I had told you that before, but
You did. I still like to
okay,
tell it the way I
okay.
tell it. Shut up.
I'm a hero. Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
Are you kidding me? Anyone who volunteers for service is a hero. Whether you deploy or not, you're a hero, for crying out loud. Just
Absolutely.
oh wow. That's gotta be tough, Carrie. I mean, that's whew. NB Geek had a question for you in the chat, and
Oh,
he's on the panel. You want to ask it live in person, NB Geek?
Yeah, sure. To Mr. CCDV's sister. I see you're a fellow airman. Are you a retired airman or are you a veteran? I mean, if you're retired, obviously you're a veteran. I was just curious.
Yeah, I understood the difference. I'm a veteran, 12-year veteran. I actually shortly after 9/11 happened, well, actually shortly before 9/11 happened, I met my husband. Shortly after 9/11 happened, he proposed. We were married in 2002. And he's retired. He made it to like 20 years and 17 days or something like that, and he was done. But we had two kids. We have two kids, but I felt like the schedule between deployments and TDYs and everything, that the kids just weren't having a stable enough household. And so at 12 I decided to get out and be the stay-at-home mom.
No, Mr. CCDV, if you don't mind, I'm gonna respond to your sister here.
Oh,
No,
absolutely.
I totally get that. As being retired Air Force, I did 4 years in the Marine Corps, 16 in the Air Force. I was in the Marine Corps during when 9/11 happened. My wife, Madam Geek, is just recently retired in July, and we both retired as technical sergeants E6s, and we did our 20 years. And yeah, we actually contemplated a couple times. I had a child from a previous marriage, and we had two children together. And there were times where we were kind of like, do we want to keep doing this? Do we want to maybe one of us stop? And we managed to decide to push through it. But I totally get why you would make a choice to say, you know what? This is and especially after what happened with my oldest daughter, especially 2016. I totally get why you would want to maybe make that choice. I knew several people who were mill to mill, and one of them made that choice when they had children. So I totally get it, totally respect it, and understand it completely.
All right.
Thank you.
Welcome, Mando Merck, to the panel. NB Geek, you want to tell your story?
Uh, I'll do my best. I'm gonna do the best I can with this one. September 11th. Actually, it starts September 10th. We headed over to Cherry Point. My unit, I was in the Marine Corps at this time. I was 3rd Marine Regiment. I was 3rd Marine Regiment, 2nd Mardiv, Headquarters Company, 6th Marine Regiment. And we were going to do mountain warfare training in Bridgeport. Okay, it's like any other time we've gone on a deployment or anything like that, even when they're stateside, we go, we had everything the day prior, we packed everything up, we had all our stuff, we went through our inspection, we sat at the tarmac at Cherry Point, which is an Air Force base, and we're waiting. Of course, we're waiting hours and hours and hours for the freaking plane to show up. And the plane finally shows up, and we get on the plane, and it's not a C-130 or anything like that. It's a commercial plane. Don't ask me how that all works. I never paid attention to how air traffic control and all that stuff works. Get on the plane. It's September 11th. It's, I don't know, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning when we fly off, and then we land in Reno, Nevada, and where people are getting off, and it's 2001, so most people don't have cell phones at that time.
Yeah.
So there's only a couple of people who have a cell phone, and you got to remember, at that time a cell phone was not like it is now. You had roaming, so anybody who was calling was going to get those long. They called it roaming. I always called it long distance charges because that's the only way I knew how to describe it. And but a couple of the guys in my unit called their wives, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'll call my wife when I get to Bridgeport because I don't have a freaking phone and there's no payphones around the area. Well, one of the guys, after we landed, I think it was maybe 20, 25 minutes after we landed, the time it takes you to get taxied in, get off the plane. Well, a couple of the guys called their wives, or their girlfriends, and then all of a sudden, one of them comes and goes, "Dude, a freaking plane crashed in the World Trade Center," and we're kind of like, "What?" And one of our staff sergeants, Staff Sergeant Ellison, I'll never forget his name, Staff Sergeant Ellison, he had one of those portable TVs, and it had the antenna on it, and he turns this thing on, and he gets the local news. And, we're looking at the live feed of the newsreel about, this plane crash. And of course, we're all thinking, I think what a lot of people thought at first was, oh, this was an accident, this was a mistake, this was pilot error, something. We're thinking it was a small plane or something. We don't have any details. And as we're watching, uh, we see the second plane crash. And everybody in my unit just went dead silent. I mean, we went from chattering like crazy, talking about how this stupid idiot could crash a plane into the water, and then we see the second, and then everything went silent, and there was nothing. And then we are told by our platoon commander, it's like, hey, we got to get on the bus. We'll explain as best we can when we get to Bridgeport. So we get on the bus, and the newsreel's playing, and the guy on the bus has the news going. And I've been on many of my times on Marine Corps with a bunch of Marines on a bus. You could have heard a pin drop. Everybody was listening to the news. We were glued to it. And we get to Bridgeport, and all we're thinking, most of us are thinking the same thing. I need to call my family. We were on a plane. I need to let them know we were okay. Even though we weren't even going near the same area where the planes crashed, we still wanted to call our families. But we get out, and then finally, we're told uh, there will be a briefing in about 2 hours. Go call your families, let them know. So of course we're all going to the pay phones and buying freaking prepaid cards and calling. I call my ex-wife, let her know I'm still alive. I call my mom, I call my dad, I call my grandmother. I'm letting everybody know, hey, I'm alive, I'm good. You know, that was how that worked out. And then we go to the meeting, the briefing, sorry. And it is, we're given a briefing of what has been interpreted to happen. And my entire unit, literally, we just basically all got up and be like, when are we going to kill these fuckers? Once we knew who it was, that's literally was the straight first thought in our minds was, when are we going to go kill these fuckers? Like, why are
Yeah.
we here? And we honestly thought, and there was talk, and I don't know if it was rumored or whatever, but because we were doing mountain warfare training, we thought, and there was rumors going around that we would be, after this training, we go deploy to Afghanistan because of what was going on. And the hardest thing I think for me was my little girl, who's now 19, she wasn't even 2 years old yet. And I was like, God, and the biggest thought in my mind was, I can't hug my little girl right now. And there was a point where I really thought, I may never get to hug her again. And the only thing I felt more scared than that, was when my wife went to Afghanistan. Now, I'll be the first to admit, I did 20 years in the service. I never deployed to Afghanistan or Iraq. Why? It's just the way the positions worked out. I never went. But I'll tell you what, when my wife got deployed to Afghanistan for that 6 months, man, the scariest time in my life on that one was when I was talking to her on the phone, and I heard the sirens going off, and they were bombing behind the wire. They were bombing outside the wire. And I had to wait an hour and a half for her to call me back. And I don't think there was any color in my face that whole hour and a half. And those are the two scariest moments I can think of in my life.
Ugh, yeah. Dude, I know that feeling, man. I do. It's like my grandfather woke me up. I got out of bed. I saw what was happening. I was like, okay, where's the recruiting office?
Well, you want to hear something interesting, Mr. CCDV? Back when I was in boot, back when I was a boot in MCRD San Diego, there was actually they actually did this to us. They had this moment where we were in a class session, and then all of a sudden everything stops. The drill instructor leaves and comes back, and then they say, Iraq has just bombed us or done this. You're going to all be 0311 infantry, yada yada yada, and they terrified, they scared the shit out of us, obviously, because we're like, oh shit, is this? And then a few minutes later, after it was all said and done, they said this is a they told us it was a training exercise to see how you guys would react.
Wow.
And
Ironically, in '95, when I was in basic training, our drill sergeant took us aside and said, "Our country has been tasked by the UN to go into Bosnia." And that was real. It was not a training exercise. Now, I don't know if they do that for basic training in the Army the way they did for you in the Marine. But in the Army, we were shocked. We were absolutely shocked in '95 when our drill sergeant said, "You may be going to Bosnia when you get out of AIT or Advanced Individual Training." We were like, "What?" "I joined for the college money." No, I joined because I was a patriot. I'd deploy anytime. Turns out I did go to Bosnia, but it was a few years later, so it didn't really matter.
wow, so you did a tour in Bosnia too?
Yeah. Yeah, four tours total.
One in Bosnia, and you said three other
Three
ones.
in
Were they
Iraq. Yeah,
three
three
in
in Iraq.
Iraq? Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, no worries. I'm proud of my service, man.
No. That's great. How long did you? I didn't know. How long did you serve, by the way?
18 years and 3 months.
Did you get a medical discharge?
Yes.
Did you get a? Please tell me you got 100% disability.
I'm 100% permanent and total. Yes.
Yes. Actually, that's one of the few fortunate things about my wife and I retiring. I got
Well,
um,
actually, I'd like to stop you right there just for a second. In November, we can talk about this. November 11th, we can talk about our service and what we did and how we got separated and things like that. So
November
November
11th.
11th, we'll do that.
November 10th works better for me. November 10th.
Okay.
No, November 10th is the Marine Corps birthday.
You do know what a November 11th is, though, right?
No, I'm not familiar with that one.
11/11/18.
Still no.
Veterans Day.
Armistice Day.
We'll talk
Oh,
about
Veterans Day. Oh, I got
Yeah.
you. Sorry, I keep forgetting that the Marine Corps birthday and Veterans Day tend to fall near each other.
I never forget
I got
because I'm an
hey.
I'm the
Hey,
kid
no
of an
offense, but
army, so I know.
no offense, but in November I have my daughter's birthday and my wife's birthday, and they're a week apart, and the Marine Corps birthday on top of that. I can't remember everything that happens in November.
I understand. It's fine. I'm just saying.
CCDB, your pause, like your heavy pause. I'm sitting there watching you too, like, okay.
I did that once. No, I'll tell that story on Veterans Day as well. All right. So
No, that's
Veterans
cool,
Day
buddy.
will also be a
Let somebody else talk.
Yeah, I need to get through, and people are welcome. I just posted the link again. You can come on up and tell your story. Mando Merc, I just saw the reflection in Spider-Man's eye. That is fantastic, man. I love that.
I made it myself.
Let me ambigonate that real quick, and then we'll get to positive candor. That is a beautiful avatar for today, baby.
Oh, that is so cool.
Oh my goodness. CCDV, thank you for pointing that out. I totally missed that until you pointed out. Oh my god, thank you.
All right. Positive Candor, what is your story, brother?
Well, I was in the Navy, stationed at Little Creek amphibious base at the Naval Clinic there in Virginia. Um, at the time. So yeah, basically within an hour of that second plane hitting the tower, the whole clinic was closed. You know, and we were told, basically that we were going to be spending the night there at the base and to pack as much stuff as possible because we could be spending, you know, multiple days and nights on the base there, basically, to go, wherever they were going to send us, which nothing came of that. Um, luckily, because, they didn't know, at first who did it or anything like that. But yeah, it was, I'm a hospital corpsman. So yeah, we closed, and it was E6 at the time. So, leading petty officer of my department. And so yeah, we shut shut down, sent all the civilians home. And um what I forget what day of the week was that on exactly way back
Tuesday.
then. Okay, Tuesday. Okay, so the clinic was then more than likely closed the rest of the week, I'm guessing. Okay. And we did spend that first night there. After getting, at first we got sent home to get as much crap, uniforms and whatever together as possible. And we did spend that first night there, and then after that they let us um let us go the following day, and everything was closed down on the base. I think, yeah, had to been the rest of that week easy. And yeah, it's just the feeling of, oh yeah, we're basically at war now between, and they did declare war, and that has not been ever rescinded since that date. We're still technically at war from 9/11, and you get, when you're in the military, you get your little national defense ribbon is the first ribbon you get.
Yeah, it is.
Nowadays, because we're still technically at war. That war has not stopped. The war on terrorism is what they call it now. Um, you know, because that started before, obviously, with the attack on Iraq and stuff like that. From when Iraq attacked Kuwait and stuff like that, and that's officially when the war on terrorism kind of. But 9/11, yeah, definitely made it. Yeah, ever since that date, you're always going to get that ribbon on your uniform now. No matter what.
Yeah, I've got a star on my national defense ribbon. I've got 2 awards for that.
Yeah.
So, most people who were in prior to 9/11 have the national defense and then also have the star that goes with it.
Yeah, I have both because they gave the first one for obviously the attack by Iraq on Kuwait, and then the second one, yeah, you got for 9/11 basically. So, but yeah, and speaking of burning fuel, burning oil, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, when I was deployed off the coast of Iraq on a ship, yeah, you could, because they set all that stuff on fire, if you remember, they set all those oil platforms on fire and everything. And yeah, that is like the worst smell that you can possibly smell, basically, with that oil, with all the oil platforms on fire and stuff like that. And yeah, I remember us having to, you had to patrol around there, and yeah, you couldn't get that smell out of the ship for the longest time.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
But yeah, so yeah, the clinic, yeah, we shut that down. It was definitely shut down the rest of the week, and then maybe the following week we did partial, probably stuff or whatever, and then basically got back to normal probably the following week, maybe about a week after it happened. I guess the following Tuesday, more than likely. Um, but yeah, it was just a experience of okay, because the same thing happened, when Kuwait got attacked. I mean, they yanked me and another guy straight out of where we were working in the hospital, and we got sent down to Camp Lejeune, and we were ready to fly over there, but of course the war, ended basically as soon as it started. Luckily, but I mean, I was in Camp Lejeune getting ready to go to wherever when Iraq attacked Kuwait. So yeah, I know that feeling of if you're and for corpsman, if you're a 8404 corpsman, which is a Marine Corps corpsman, then you are one of the first ones that are going to be going when the shit hits the fan, basically. So so again, yeah, they basically yanked me and anybody else who had that designation, and we were again, they were thinking about, okay, do we send everybody to Camp Lejeune again, or whatever, but nothing really came of that, too much.
No, it was actually a very, very well staged deployment into Afghanistan. So, wow, I'm kind of glad that we didn't do a knee jerk reaction so much as a staged deployment at that time.
Yeah.
It was,
The first attack by Iraq on Kuwait. Yeah, they did that knee jerk, and me and another guy, we were in Camp Lejeune, ready to fly out on the next plane, and then all of a sudden the war, ended. Like I said, as fast as it started, and we flew back to where we were stationed at. But yeah, they were ready to send me over there, basically. So
good
So I
deal.
know, so I know that feeling very well of yeah, of having to, and yeah, I've been on and we can talk about it later. I've been on multiple deployments over off the coast of Iraq and stuff in my military career, but yeah, it's definitely a weird feeling and everything when you basically can't, I told my wife, hey, this might be the last time I see you. You know, I mean, I gotta keep it real. So
Well,
yeah.
thank you.
But
Thank
yeah,
you.
that's
Positive
basically my
answer.
story. But
That is excellent. And again, someone earlier in the chat said that um, there are no people who are not heroes who have volunteered. So whether you've seen combat or not, you volunteered, you served your time, you did your thing, and that is what is important. And in this situation, of course, and we haven't even talked about firemen and policemen. Let's get some of those guys up on the panel. Let's hear their stories and see what's going on. For now, though, let's move on to Mando Merck. Mando Merck.
All right, so as many of you know, I live in New York City, have pretty much all of my life. So I was there when the planes crashed into the World Trade Center, and I was young at the time, but I remember I was in Jersey, and we got a phone call because I was at a friend's place, and we got a phone call that there was an attack or something on the World Trade Center, and so like I rushed over back to my parents came, picked me up, and they drove me back to New York. We were on the GW, and we saw the second plane crash into the building. And at that point, we just went straight from Manhattan to the Bronx and watched the rest of it on TV at my grandparents' place there. And it was just not, it was just a lot of shock, a lot of horror. You can see the bodies falling, you can see everything. It's been permanently ingrained in my head. I tried blacking a lot of it out, but for me, it was always a day of a horror show. It felt like it was unreal, like it was just like I was watching a movie, but I knew I wasn't. And then years to come later, you had the memorials and the beam lights pretty much every night, and it was. I will say that day made me realize at a young age that when the time came, my city would come together. So
it was really amazing the way the city came together too. Like, well, I don't know. How do you describe that kind of feeling that we all had that day and the following couple of weeks? I'm afraid it only lasted a couple of weeks, but
because I would be going to, as a kid, I was going from Manhattan to Brooklyn a lot at the time, and on the way, because I was on at the time I lived at 90th Street. I'm blanking on the address, but years, sorry. But we were there. I was going from pretty much 90th Street down to Brooklyn, and every time back and forth, to Brooklyn and back to home in Manhattan, I was passing the 9/11 Memorial and Ground Zero every single time. And this was pretty much like every Sunday for me at the time.
That's wow. So your landscape changed completely while you were a kid.
Yep.
Oh, that is something that is traumatic all by itself.
And then they had the Memorial Park built, and then they had the Freedom Tower built. That was relatively recently, though, but still. I got to see this city kind of take a massive blow, lick its wounds, and then heal and regrow.
You know what? That is a unique perspective that I've never heard before.
Well, if I use my actual perspective and how horrific it was, then I don't want to be. Then I'm better off leave. It was a really bad day, and we need to remember that it happened because it's the same reason I say we need to remember any historical event. If you don't remember it, then what's to stop it from happening again?
Yes, that's the thing, is you gotta always remember.
I'm kind of extreme to that with that belief when it comes to World War II, but that's a personal matter. But when it comes to 9/11, it was really extreme that, like, all of a sudden, a place that I knew people that worked there. Like my dad had friends that worked there or something, and it's like luckily they didn't go in that day.
I've heard that a lot, especially today. It's like, well, I had a meeting there and then we didn't go, and wow. So you got to think, what is the hand of protection on certain people, and then others have to be martyred or left behind, I don't know. It's difficult to wrap my mind around. I can't do it.
Yeah.
Oh, those 5,000.
I did more. I think what helps me is that like I look on it with a more positive outlook now because obviously it's happened. There's nothing I can do to change it. You know,
Yeah.
even if you could do something to change it, it's not going to bring back all those people that died. So, I mean, like, there's a bunch of conspiracies that have been floating around, just, you know, like, oh, it was an inside job, you know, all like Pearl Harbor type conspiracies, you know, where it's like, you know, we knew it was going to happen type thing. And look,
the 5,000 that were lost that one day were not all just Americans.
Yeah.
You know, they were from all over the world. It's the World Trade Center, you know?
Yep. And I just want to say that regardless of whether the conspiracies are true or not, the fact of the matter is, it doesn't matter. It happened. It's over. All we can do now is remember it, deal with it in our own unique ways.
And never forget. Yeah. And never forget. Definitely. That's the most important part. Never forget. All right. Alicia, hello.
Hi, guys. How are you?
Happy, happy, joy, joy.
Yes. So I have to think back because I was 16 at the time. And I'm still in high school. My high school got transferred. We were meeting in our local neighborhood, but we had literally just moved to this town about 30 minutes away from our hometown. And so we're in a new school. We've gone from a multi-story building to almost a 2-story building. So we're in a smaller place. And I'm a junior in high school, and it seems like a typical day. And I noticed that the weather was very, very warm that day for a Tuesday. And I'm in my U.S. history class, which is ironic. History is happening on that day. And our guidance counselor comes in the classroom, and he starts talking to our teacher and says, "You need to turn the TV on." And I'm in the front row. I always sit near the front row so I can hear what's going on. And I hear her whispering saying, "You need to turn on the TV. Something's going on in New York." And I just remember the look of horror on my face. I'm sure I had. And all I could say throughout the whole day was, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." And the thing is, I live here in the DMV area, DC metro area, and I'm literally about maybe 30 minutes, if traffic's not too bad, from the Pentagon. And I found out years later that 2 of my church members, who are very, very special to me, like aunts and uncles, she was supposed to be at the Pentagon that day, and he was supposed to be at the Pentagon that day. And he's in Las Vegas on a business trip, and she is here in the DMV area still, but she's supposed to be at work that day. But the thing is, nobody can get in touch with her. Nobody knows where she is. And she's got 2 young children. They're both under the age of 10. Nobody knows where she is. They don't know if she's at work. Her husband has called her, telling her that there's something going on in New York. He'll call her back later, not realizing that his wife is supposed to be there at the Pentagon and everything, knowing she's supposed to be there at work where the plane struck. I didn't know this until my mom mentioned this a couple years ago, but my mom worked at an elementary school at the time, my old elementary school, and she told me that there was this family that she knew that was all wiped out in New York because of these attacks.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, mother, father, I think children. I mean, I still remember it because I remember that day because my dad came and picked me up from school that day. And these kids, they were so mean and hateful. They took a rock and they threw it at my father's car. And it hit our car. Fortunately, we were okay, but it was still pretty scary. And also, that same day, we had tornado warnings in the area. So we're getting bombarded by the weather. We're getting bombarded by this terrorism. And I just remember turning on channel after channel that night. And it's like all news reports. And to this day, I really cannot stand to watch those reports without sobbing because we were taking care of a friend's pet bird at the time, and he literally had just come back from New York the day before, and he gave us a picture of the New York landscape. And when I looked at it, and my mom didn't realize it at first, but then I looked at it and said, "The towers are gone, Mommy." "What?" she said. I said, "The towers, they're gone." And I always wanted to go there. I really did, but I haven't been back to New York since 96 when I was on my way to Canada. But I just remember being that wide-eyed 16-year-old girl thinking, my world is literally changing in front of me. History has happened in front of me, and here it is 19 years later, well, 18 years later. We're still divided in so many ways. Things have not improved in this area. I mean, yeah, they have the Pentagon Memorial here, but our country, sadly, is not what it ought to be. I mean, I remember that surreal feeling that in the weeks that followed that everything was united. Everybody was saying, never forget, never forget, never forget. But now it's like we have forgotten. We've forgotten to stay united. We've forgotten to stay connected. And I just know it was a very surreal world around here after that, because we had 9/11 happen around here, and then we had, about a year later, we had the sniper attacks in this area. And that was a scary, scary, scary time.
Oh yeah.
Because literally this kid, because like I said, I'm in school about 30 minutes away from my hometown, but the thing is, this kid literally gets shot half a mile from where I'm at before school got started that day.
Oh my
And I
God.
had no idea what was happening. I
And that's
mean,
domestic terrorism. That wasn't even foreign terrorism. That was domestic.
yeah, exactly. And that scared me because I was literally walking around outside in the open half a mile from where that kid got shot.
Oh my God, that is so scary.
And I didn't realize the severity because I just thought it was a random school shooting. And then when I got home, my mom was hugging me and saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" I'm like, "Why? What happened?" And she told me that kid got shot. I said, "You mean it wasn't a school shooting?" And she says, "No, no." And I literally wrote a blog about this on my blog a couple years ago about how God has protected me so many times, because without God, I wouldn't be here. I really wouldn't.
I know that feeling.
And it blows my mind. Here it is. I was 16 years old at the time when this attack happened. And my life has never been the same since that day. I mean,
Well,
just,
none of our lives have been the same since that day.
no,
If you're
no,
old to remember when the towers came down, your life has never been the same.
yeah. I mean, watching it happen on TV in real time, it was just like horrific. Like, what's happening? You're seeing first the Twin Towers bits. And then before lunchtime, you're seeing the Pentagon attacks.
Yeah.
And then you're seeing about the field in Pennsylvania, and you're thinking, and then you find out later it was supposed to be at the White House. And I'm thinking, oh my God, that's all in my backyard, the Pentagon, the White House. This is all my backyard. And it's like scary. It's really scary. And it's still scary to know it was right there, not too far away from where I'm living.
Oof. Wow. I mean, we've heard some crazy stories tonight. Captain Trek, welcome.
Thank you.
How are you doing tonight, brother?
Today was a difficult day, as always
Long
on
day.
this day. I
Yes,
remember
this day is difficult for all of us.
it was my day to go with my or take my take my nephew to school. He was in preschool and I volunteer. I was listening to the news. It sounded like something local, nothing, no big deal. Wasn't paying attention. You got a kid in the car screaming, so you can't really pay attention. And I got to the school, and we were just going about the day, and all of a sudden it's like, you what? The teachers were all whispering, trying to keep stuff away from the kids. I went up to the teacher. I said, what's going on? And then they were talking about it. And then they decided to tell the students something because they had to, the kids aren't stupid. They could see that the adults were upset. And so they initially announced it as an accident because there was only one plane that had gone in. And so then obviously we found out later it was different. But the one thing I've never told anybody, I've never talked about this, was I knew somebody who worked in the World Trade Center. They were supposed to be there that day. For some reason, they were off. I don't remember exactly what happened. It was so many years ago. But they weren't there. But I didn't find out for a week. I do remember that much.
That had to have been a scary time.
Oh, yeah.
Just waiting to find news of, like, oh my God, is my friend still alive? Did my friend survive? Oh, that's awful.
Because all I knew was they worked at the World Trade Center. They didn't, couldn't say more than that. Although they did. And so it's like, okay, I don't know. And, it was funny. Mando Burke said something about, not being important if there was a cover-up. Well, there was a cover-up, but not the cover-up that most people are thinking about. And here's the thing. The loss of life is more important than the investigations that were going on and were stopped because of the 9/11 attacks. I mean, that is a cover-up.
And the loss of life didn't end at the 9/11.
And we're never going to find out the truth.
It continues. Like, people that were there at the rescue, rescuing people from the debris and the rubble, which, there was like mercury from the
they're still suffering side effects.
Exactly.
Yeah.
People still dying from 9/11 today.
All right. On this subject, I'm going to open it up to the whole panel unless someone else wants to come in and tell a story. So you're free to unmute your microphones and come on and debate the topic of whether or not we actually covered up health problems that are going on currently from what happened at 9/11.
Oh yeah, there was definitely cover up for sure. I mean, I remember not that long afterwards there was the anthrax scare too, and people were scared to send letters to the senators. I mean, I don't remember exactly, but I do remember a lot of people, because my dad used to write to senators all the time about complaints and stuff like that, and he was so careful what he said, and he was like, everybody was like so scared to even send any kind of mail out, and you didn't know what was going to be in there. They were saying, like, don't touch it, it could be anthrax. And you're like, well, what can I do? And they're like, well, if it's anything in the mail and you don't recognize the sender, you don't open it. And it's like, okay, what do we do now? And it's like, but there was so much cover up afterwards, because I do remember them saying at first, like, oh, it's somebody within the government that's doing these attacks, or it's somebody terrorism that's doing these attacks, the reason why they happened. And they didn't talk about the health issue that people were going through, where people were having lung disorders afterwards, where they couldn't breathe, or it was nonstop confusion basically for a good while. And it took, I would say, almost a year, especially for here in the DC area, for things to finally settle down. But things didn't settle down for a good while even after that, because then we were followed by the sniper attacks here in this area. And then I guess everything started settling down maybe in 2003, 2004. But the thing is, then started really getting crazy in my own personal life too from there. But
so that's other than covering up the health issues that came out of that, which one of us would not have run into that dust cloud to help retrieve people or to help save people?
If I had been there, I would have.
I would have.
I would have definitely done it. I didn't care. I still do that. I constantly put myself on the line, even if it means risking my own life. I don't care. I'll save somebody's life, and if it means giving my life, I'll do it.
There were a ton of civilians, like regular people like us, who were just on the side of like where the sidewalks were, but there were people in the middle who were trying to watch, but then they just froze. Like
Yeah.
and the dust started coming. So there's a lot of us that were just grabbing people and pushing them to the right or the left because it's like when the cloud came, they just didn't move. I know there's film of people running from the cloud, by some of the buildings, but there were tons of people that were just deer in headlights, shocked and wouldn't move. And like everybody was grabbing someone left and right, even just throwing them to the left or the right, behind a car. There was a lot of people doing that.
Yeah, and you
Yeah,
don't
Mexican
know
Iron
until
Man.
the day after.
That's kind of the fight or flight thing. And I'd love to say that I would have ran towards it. I'll be perfectly honest with you. I'm not freaking sure what I would have done in that situation. I do know I was ready to go kill every one of the SOBs who did this. That much I am 100% sure of. I wish I could say I would have done that, but I can't in good conscience say yes, I would have definitely done it because I had never experienced anything like that in my life, and I was in Nevada at the time, so I want to say I would have done it, but I'm going to be 100% honest and say I don't know.
I wish I could
I
say
don't mean to be mean to anybody. I don't mean that as being disingenuous to anybody else here who says they would do it. I totally understand and believe you completely. I'm being completely honest with myself.
I wish I could say, and this is an honest statement. I'm leaving all the roadblocks out of my mind right now. I honestly wish I could say I had not had my metal tested in Iraq. Um, but since I have, I can say this honestly. I know for a fact what I would do. I would head first in there, pull people out, and treat wounds as best I could because I know what I would do because I've done it. Not in that situation, but in situations similar to it since then and prior to then. But forget that. Anyway. Anyway, that's
Oh, AVP, you actually reminded me of a story that happened relatively recently. So many of you, whether you know or not, so there's pretty much daily shootings going on in my city right now.
Yes.
So there was one. I was in the Bronx a few weeks ago. I was doing some shopping and I was also visiting my grandparents who still live there. And as I was leaving, like I was walking home that day because I don't live that far away from the Bronx in terms of I'm in Manhattan, Bronx, like I can walk. I got good legs, so I was walking home and like 5 blocks away from me, I read it later the next day in the paper. A father was walking his daughter across the street when a car pulled up and just an arm with a gun came out the window and shot the father dead.
Mm,
And this was just 5 blocks from me.
yeah. Yeah. I mean, the thing is with those snipers that was so scary is you never knew who was going to do. I mean, a guy's cutting the grass in front of his yard and he's being shot. Or, like I said, this kid who's just on his way to school and he's being shot by these people. And it's like, what's going on here? I mean, everybody was so scared because every time we saw a white van, I mean, we didn't know it at the time, but we thought it was a white van. And every time we saw a white van, you see literally football players, big brawny kids that are much older than me, much taller than me, and they're all dunking for cover. And I mean, everybody's like running in the door. I mean, every little sound you heard, like where my mom was, because she was in an elementary school, every time they heard backfire, they're rushing all the kids inside. And everybody's locked down from about maybe 8 in the morning until about maybe 4 o'clock in the evening. You don't know what's going on, and you can't go out unless your teachers say you can go outside. I mean, we had temporary buildings which were kind of like trailers, but our classrooms were in there. And the thing is, as soon as the bell rang, you see all these kids running inside the building as fast as they can because you don't know what's going to happen because they're saying, hurry, 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 hurry. We don't know what's out there. And someone made a joke for our senior class picture the following year. Somebody took the picture from the roof and somebody made the crack saying, oh, it's the snipers. But everybody chuckles and our principal says, don't joke like that. That's not funny. So, yeah.
And Myrrh the gravitationally adept. I'm not going to read it out loud because that's too much for me. But what did you guys think? Would you have taken that route rather than staying in the building, knowing you would be either crushed or burned alive?
I look at it this way. I made my choice a long time ago, and I was fortunate enough to sign the check for the full amount and come out 20 years later. I know many people who didn't get that didn't get that. And I one of the most heartbreaking things was watching videos and seeing the casualty lists and being like, I saw names of Marines and airmen I knew, and I was like, I think that was always the hardest thing for me, even worse than 9/11, was the people who died after the fact.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. By a lot of times by suicide too. Like survivor's guilt is something that
Yeah.
we're trained to deal with, but people like the folks who survived from the disaster at the Twin Towers on 9/11, um, they're not trained to live through something like that. And those who are even trained and counseled after deployment commit suicide. And so the survivors, I mean, the death count is not just 5,000. The death count is over that because of the people who couldn't handle the survivor guilt. So, what do you guys think?
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I know how much a lot of people were signing up right and left because I'm in that age range where people are wanting to sign up for the military, and I just remember how horrified I was. This kid signs up for the military, and this is the thing that made me so mad. He signs up, goes through basic training, but then he basically goes AWOL. And that's the thing that made me so mad. I said, how could you do that? How could you sign up for something knowing it's patriotic to serve, but yet you go AWOL and yet you have your father lying for you saying, I don't know where my son is, even though he's hiding in his father's basement.
Mm,
So mad at him. And I'm younger than him. I'm like 15 and I'm screaming at him, how could you do something so cowardly? I would serve in the sign up in a minute. But the thing is, I know my mental capacity, the way I'm so sweet and loving and kind and everything, the way I come across, I couldn't serve. I really couldn't because I know it would change me in ways that I wouldn't want to be changed. And it's bad enough that I went through the traumas that I've gone through. And the thing is, that survivor's guilt, I know it's hard for those people that who went through that, and I can understand why they would suicide, even though I don't support it. But it's just, I just, I feel like if you're gonna serve or do something like that, you need to make sure you know the full cost before you do it.
AVP, if you don't mind me interjecting here.
Sure.
I used to have a very similar point of view to what you have about that. Um, I ended up in while I was in the military, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, it was a good thing.
Mhm.
I ended up in a rehab center, and I was in there, and it was for alcohol. And
Mhm.
I we were very communal with the people in this that were both we had a lot of airmen who were suicidal, and they just couldn't handle boot camp and stuff. And it's unfortunate, but I will say this. Going to that rehab, as much as I had the most negative condescending shit about suicide and people who commit it. After getting to hear these stories and getting to be embraced by these people, I thought, okay, maybe I'm the one with a problem there. And
everyone tells me I'm a pussy because I can't do a dab, but I'm like, you give me a fucking blunt, I could smoke that whole thing by myself without coughing.
Taylor, you're not muted. Thank you.
Okay.
What I was gonna end with was I understand your point of view and I get it. I was just very fortunate to get a chance to experience a different point of view on that
Yeah.
whole thing.
Well, here's the thing, NB. I was in a military class. I was in the junior ROTC class in high school for all 4 years. So I so support the military completely, completely. And I just knew that the thing is, there's just things that I could not find a job that I would feel like I would be suited for. So that's one reason why I chose not to serve. It just I'm not against the military in the least because my father was in the military, both my grandfathers. I have cousins and everything like that. It's just the thing that got to me was this young man that's like I said at the time, about 5 years older than me, signs up, has his father to lie for everybody saying, I don't know where my son is. And he's lying to these military personnel saying, I don't know where my son is. That's the thing that got to me more than anything. That he would just
You
lie
know,
and
I would be that's a tough one. As a parent of 3 children, 2 girls and a boy, I guess I could maybe understand, that dilemma.
yeah, I mean
I
that's the
mean,
thing.
because you don't want to, and I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I got my daughter arrested, which turned out to be a really good thing for her. But it took me
Mhm.
years to finally get to that point where I was like, this is best for her. This is best for me. It's gonna be a little bit of pain now, but it's gonna be better in the end. And it turned out I was right, and I was very fortunate for that.
All right. So if we don't have anyone else who wants to come up on the panel, I apologize for my daughter. She apparently was in an argument with her boyfriend.
Oops.
Yeah, no worries.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure she had
Oh,
a story.
trust me, I've probably seen worse.
It's fine.
Now,
Good God.
do you approve of the boyfriend?
I
That's
have
It
not
doesn't matter if he approves of the boyfriend.
I have to drive all the way to Las Vegas to meet her boyfriend. I don't want to.
The first time a funny story. The first time I met my in-laws, my now in-laws, was actually and my wife's sisters and brother was actually at my wedding. That was the first time I met them.
Well, then you don't have to worry about impressing them. You already did this.
Nah, she just accepted me. Captain Trek knows her. I mean, Captain Trek's seen her. She smacks the shit out of me anytime she wants.
Good.
But no, I think the thing that why I got so upset about my friend dropping out the way he did and stuff like that is because his father had never served in the military, and the thing is, he was getting advice from people in these military saying, "Are you sure you really want to do this? Are you sure you really want to serve?" And he kept saying up and down, "Yes, yes, yes." But I think the thing is, I think he just wanted to get out from mom and dad's roof, and because of what he did, he now has a dishonorable discharge on his record, and he can't get him decent employment. And I'm thinking,
Right.
could have made it so much better for yourself instead of doing the cowardly thing that you did. I think that's why I get so angry about it more than anything.
He got a
Well,
dishonorable
that's the
discharge.
thing.
Really? That's
Again, it's that thing where you don't honestly know until you're faced with the situation whether you can handle it or not. Now,
Right.
does he deserve sympathy? In my opinion, no, but that's because I've been there multiple times and I relive it constantly on occasions like this. But
let me ask you a question, though, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Mr. CCTV.
yeah,
Okay, would you want, because if he did that before going, would you want that type of person in your unit?
I've had those guys in my unit, and I've put them out as often as I possibly could. There are legal restrictions, of course. You know, you have to have a counseling packet that's 8 inches thick and go through the JAG Corps and all that stuff, the Judge Advocate General, and it goes through a long process to get those fellers out. But yes,
Yeah, we had some of them in JROTC too. I mean, the thing is, the freshman year in my high school, you had to take the course, and the thing is, if they wanted you back and they thought you were, you know, worthy enough to be in it, if they saw promise in you, then they would invite you back, and they did invite me back every year. But like I said, I think this young man who, like I said, his father lied for him and dropped out and only got this honorable discharge. I think the thing is he hadn't taken this kind of course, and so he didn't have the grunt work in order to know what was at stake.
Yeah.
I, being younger, would try to tell him, this is not going to be easy. This is not fun and games. Joining the military may be looking like they say on TV, oh, go see the world, go get the money and everything like that. Yeah, but think about the cost that go with it. And he didn't want to listen to me, even though I was younger than him, saying, you know what, think about the cost about what you're doing before you serve. And he kept saying, oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's never served. I'm thinking, yeah, I do. I am serving. I'm serving in the military class at school, so I know.
Yeah.
So that, in case anyone is brand new here, we were telling stories. Where were you the day of 9/11 back in 2001? I know my daughter is going to come back on here in a few minutes. She was born in 2000, so I'm sure she doesn't remember.
Your daughter was born into that, so was mine.
So she's probably got a pretty good story to tell. But I'm curious what that story is. Anyway, again, the StreamYard link is in the chat. You guys are welcome to come on and tell your story. For now, we're just coming up with topics, and this actually devolved into desertion and service, mainly because we were wondering if you were there on 9/11 in Manhattan, would you run into the cloud to help people? Many of us said we would, and then it kind of went sideways a little bit. So,
well, I'm going to tell you, does not have to do with 9/11 exactly, but when I was 18, I worked in a warehouse, and there was a fire. I just come back from lunch. I looked over across the bay. There was a fire going, and we were quickly escorted out. I said, "No, I got to go back and go help these people." No, you get out of the building. No, I got to go help. No, get out now. So I do know. That was my first instinct, was not to get out of the building. It was to go.
I've had a multitude of scenarios like that. Not specifically fire, but in terms I had one where involving me getting electrocuted because I pushed my friend out of the way when he was about to do something stupid. I saved my sister from drowning when I was 16, and I was not a lifeguard yet. It was just instinct. I just jumped in and got her out. It's sometimes, it's like what you were saying before. It was a fight or flight, and it's either you'll do it or you won't.
Yeah.
And then on occasion you have people that just freeze like deers in headlights. But
and again, it's fine either way. It really is. Those who commit and then realize they can't handle it should go through proper channels, but often they
Absolutely.
desert.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, as I said, it's not everyone will do it, but some will. It's instinct, and others it's not.
And there,
we need to let Mexican Iron Man say something if he needs to before he goes. So
I just want to thank you guys. I got to go pick my girl at 4:00. This has been an amazing 2 hours. And when CCTV, when you invited me, I mean, like, I just instantly said yeah, because I needed something like this for a long time and I haven't had the chance to.
all right, on.
It really means a lot, and it means a lot, especially with all you guys here, because I know so many of you, from all of our other interactions and stuff, and so it makes me feel real comfortable and stuff. And I really appreciate all you guys. Thank you, brother.
Thanks again for being here, man. Thanks for telling your story. I appreciate it.
At least on this channel, you can't butt ban.
All right, Taylor, what is your story?
Well, I was only one when it happened. But my dad said, or my other dad, or my biological dad, or whatever you want to call him, said that I was actually at home with my grandma, just sitting there while he was at work, and he saw it on like the TV when he was a security guard. But I remember watching it in elementary school, like they would play it back on 9/11. I just thought it was like crazy, like that, like something like that could even happen.
I call your dad Justin.
Sorry. Sometimes I forget. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm joking, Taylor. Oh, you're a good girl. You've done well. So you're watching your niece now?
Yeah, my best friend's little girl, she was exposing me. Sorry, guys.
I'd smoke a blunt every time, whatever.
She wanted to tell my dad how not innocent I was.
Hey, you're in Las Vegas. You're over 18. There. Well, thank you for coming and telling your story, Taylor. I miss your grandmother. I really do. She was a good lady.
I know, I miss her every day. And then I just found out that Justin's dad, he served in the army also. So that was kind of cool to learn. Yeah.
All that whole family thing, it gets confusing once you've adopted a couple of kids.
Yeah, honestly.
All right. Well, if we don't have any other folks that want to come up and tell their story, are there topics around the panel that people want to talk about? I mean, it's got to be related to 9/11, mind you.
Yeah. I mean, basically, what would happen to me if it happens again? I mean, you don't ever want to talk about it, but you have like Alicia is saying, you have these things similar, like the Columbine shooting and other things that somebody plans out, or they bomb a building or whatever. It might not be something as grand as this in a way, but yeah, it's like bad shit, unfortunately, is happening every day, and it and it's vastly underreported, basically. I mean, even though the news is all negative news nowadays, but you never realize how much, like Mark was saying, you have shootings going on in New York City probably 24/7, basically, and probably DC area and other hotspot areas as well. LA, wherever. But yeah, you don't realize how violent I guess the world is until it really hits you close. But with other countries have been at war forever. And Iraq is still a trouble spot in Iran and all this stuff, even after all these years. So it's just something to me that could again happen again. Anytime, and we just got to be mindful of something like this. It happened 19 years ago, but yeah, you never know. It could happen again. Any time. So you just gotta remember that this world is not you know it's what unfortunately other people, um bad people, tend to want to go out in the blaze of glory type thing. And there's tons of bad people, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not the first domestic terrorism case, but domestic terrorism doesn't get the same kind of publicity as foreign terrorism. Thank you, Cousin It, for joining us. I know we didn't get to ask you any questions. Oh, okay. Cousin It has returned. Where were you that day, Cousin It?
I don't want to talk about that again. I already told that story.
Oh, you
Sorry,
don't
I
want to
just
talk about it. Okay, that's fine.
I just wanted to interject a little humor. I know it's a bad day for most Americans and most people, and just thought I'd do this for fun every now and again. I thought, Captain Trek always laughs his ass off at me when I look like this. The only thing I
I
think he
always laugh
laughs
my ass
harder on.
off with you anyhow. So
No, you laughed. You almost laughed the hardest watching my wife smack the shit out of me.
Yes, I did. Admittedly.
All right, I'm going to bring it back down again,
Yeah,
everybody.
Hey, Mr. CCDV, Captain Trek, everybody, Positive Candor. I gotta go. I gotta take care of some other stuff. Hope I brought a small part of levity at the end of my time here. You all have a great one, and as I always say, peace and long life, live long and prosper. You all have a great one, and I will catch you all on the flip side.
Good day,
Take
sir.
care, Andy.
All right. I am going to exercise my right as an American to do a Protestant prayer. And then at the end of that Protestant prayer, we will have a moment of silence so that you can pray or just be silent in whatever faith that you believe in. All right. Father, we ask you that you would bless those who have lived through this experience and allow us to get through the day in a proper manner. This was a civilized stream, and I thank you so much for allowing me to be a host to so many incredible stories that we've heard today, and just enjoyed the time together in fellowship, talking about a tragic event that we've lived through, and we're able to enjoy ourselves today, this afternoon. It's so difficult to understand what your plan is for us coming up to or what's coming in the future. We thank you again for allowing us to come together and congregate and enjoy one another's company. We thank you again for all of this in Jesus' name. Amen. And a moment of silence now.
While everyone is silent, I just wanted to pop in since I just got back to my computer. I need to go right now. So, everyone have a great night. Have a great weekend. I will, get some. I don't know. Have a great weekend. I'll catch you guys later.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for being here. History with R&R is here. Wrong account. I don't know which one you are. Are you the Admiral? It's a battleship. I'm assuming it's the Admiral.
Well, it can only be one or two people, so.
No worries. Oh, it's Rambling Canuck.
Yep.
Whoa! I was wrong, man. I had a 50-50 chance, and I was wrong.
100% wrong.
How can you be 100% wrong if you have a 50-50 chance?
Yeah.
No worries. Thank you, everybody, for sharing your stories. That was wonderful.
Thanks for hosting us.
Yeah, I'll do this for all of the big occasions, of course, because I'm a weirdo, I guess. I think on Veterans Day, I'll keep my camera on and try not to pick my nose.
Well, you know what they say. You can
pick your nose and you can pick your
friends, but you can't pick your friend's nose.
Or you can't pick family.
Damn right you can't pick family. Well, kind of.
Your online family, you can pick all you want because then when you get connected, you can't get them rid of them.
I picked my two daughters. I get that.
All right.
All right, folks.
Oh, yeah,
have a great evening.
You too. Thanks
All
for
right.
having us.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.